Arthur was an old man. He lived in a quiet room where the walls were white and the air smelled always of lemons and clean sheets. Through his window, he could see a tall oak tree. For a year, he had watched its leaves turn from green to gold, then brown, and finally fall away. Now the branches stood bare and black against the gray winter sky, a picture of waiting. His own body felt much like that tree. His strength, once solid and reliable, had fallen away from him leaf by leaf. His hands, which had spent 50 years shaping wood into useful and beautiful things, now lay thin and pale upon the blanket. The veins stood out like blue rivers on a map of a country he was slowly leaving. He spent his days with memories. He remembered his wife, Eleanor, her laugh that could light up a room. He remembered the heavy, solid feel of his favorite hammer, the scent of fresh-cut pine in his workshop, the warmth of the sun on his back on a summer afternoon. But these memories were becoming like photographs in a fading album. The colors were softening, the edges were curling. They were stories he told himself, but the feeling, the true aliveness of those moments was growing distant. On this particular evening, the setting sun painted the sky in soft colors of orange and purple. Arthur felt a deep and final kind of tiredness, a pulling in his bones that asked him to let go. The steady beep, beep, beep of the heart monitor beside his bed began to sound like a gentle, rhythmic goodbye, its tone growing softer, farther away, as if someone were carrying it down a long hall. He took a slow, shallow breath and closed his eyes. Then the wonder began. It was not like falling asleep. It was like stepping through a door. Arthur opened his eyes, and he was standing on a hill. The shock was not frightening. It was a shock of pure, vibrant sensation. The grass beneath his bare feet was a cool, brilliant green, each blade jeweled with morning dew. The sky above was a vast and endless blue, and the sun warmed his face with a kindness he had forgotten. He breathed in, and the air was sweet with the scent of wildflowers and damp earth. It was a deep, full breath that filled his lungs completely, and there was no pain, no tightness, only the easy flow of life. He looked down at his hands. They were not the frail, spotted hands he knew. These were the strong, capable hands of a young man. He could see the muscles moving under the skin, feel the raw power in his grip as he curled his fingers into a fist. A laugh burst from his chest, a sound of pure, unthinking joy that echoed in the vast silence. He did not question it. He simply began to run. His legs carried him down the slope with an energy that felt limitless. The wind rushed through his thick hair, and he felt the cool air on his skin. He leaped over a small stream, landing with a sure-footed grace that made him shout with exhilaration. This was not a memory. He had never been to this place in his long life. Yet it felt more real, more solid than the white room he had just left behind. The green of the grass was sharper. The blue of the sky was deeper. The feeling of life in his veins was more potent than anything he could recall. At the bottom of the hill, a narrow dirt path wound its way through a field of wildflowers. He followed it, his heart beating with a strong, steady rhythm. Soon, the path led him to a village. It was a small, peaceful place where the houses were built of stone and weathered wood, with smoke curling lazily from their chimneys. People moved about their daily business, and as you passed, they looked up and smiled. Their greetings were not words of surprise, but simple, friendly nods, as if he had always belonged there. Then he saw her. A woman was standing by a wooden fence, watching a chestnut horse graze in a paddock. She turned, as if feeling his gaze, and her eyes met his. Her name was Clara. He did not know how he knew this, but the knowledge was as certain as the ground beneath his feet. She had eyes the color of the summer sky, and a gentle, knowing smile that seemed to hold all the warmth in the world. "Hello, Arthur," she said. Her voice was clear and calm, like a soft chime. "Clara," he replied, and the name felt familiar and right on his tongue. From that moment, a new life unfolded for Arthur, a life rich with purpose and connection. Together, he and Clara built a small, sturdy house on the edge of the village. Near the woods, he felt back into the old, satisfying rhythms of his trade. He felt the rough grain of the oak planks, the solid weight of his mallet as he drove pegs into joints, the pleasant ache in his muscles at the end of a productive day. It was the work he loved, but without the struggle and worry he remembered from his youth.
They planted a large garden behind their house. Arthur learned the feel of the dark, rich soil as he turned it with his hands. He learned the patience of waiting for seeds to sprout, and the simple joy of harvesting plump red tomatoes and sweet strawberries still warm from the sun. He and Clara shared their meals at a rough-hewn wooden table, their conversation easy and filled with quiet understanding. Life was not without its challenges, but even the hardships felt meaningful. One fierce winter, a blizzard piled snow so high it threatened to crush their roof. For 2 days, Arthur and Clara worked together, clearing the snow, patching a leak with tar and cloth. They were cold and exhausted, their bodies pushed to the limit. But they worked side by side, their shared effort a silent language of love and partnership. They discovered that struggle did not weaken their bond, it strengthened it, weaving their lives together with unbreakable threads. Seasons turned into years. Arthur watched his children grow. He felt the tiny, trusting grip of his daughter's hand around his finger. He taught his son how to whittle a piece of soft pine, guiding the small hands with his own. He felt a profound, swelling pride and a love so vast it sometimes brought tears to his eyes. He watched his children become adults, start families of their own, and bring grandchildren to sit on his knee.
He grew older in this world, too. His hair turned silver again, and lines appeared on his face, but they were lines etched by laughter and sunlight, not by worry and pain. In the evenings, he and Clara would sit on the porch of the house they had built together, watching the stars appear one by one in the darkening sky. They would sit in a comfortable silence, their hands, now lined with the gentle marks of age, resting together. One evening, as he sat with Clara, Arthur felt that familiar, deep tiredness. It was not an enemy this time, but an old friend. He was very old in this life, and he was content. He looked at Clara, her face still beautiful to him, and he smiled. "It was a good life," he whispered, his voice soft but clear. "The very best," she replied, squeezing his hand. He closed his eyes. Back in the white room, the heart monitor sounded a long, steady tone. The line on the screen, which had traced the rhythm of a life for 92 years, went flat. A nurse entered the room, her footsteps quiet. She saw the old man lying peacefully, and on his lips she saw a small, serene smile. Arthur's body was still, but in the last moments of his life, he had lived an entire second lifetime. A lifetime of love, of hard and honest work, of joy and sorrow, of family and friendship. For him, it was not a dream. It was a life that felt more vivid, more true, and more deeply real than the one that had come before. So we are left with a quiet and powerful question. Which life was Arthur's true life? Was it the first one, the one measured by calendars and birth certificates, the one that ended in a quiet white room? The life that could be documented and verified by others? Or was it the second one, the one on the green hill with Clara? The life where he felt the sun and the wind, where he built a home and raised a family, where he felt a profound sense of belonging and purpose? The life that existed entirely within his own mind and heart, yet felt more authentic than anything else. Perhaps the reality of a life is not only in the events that happen to our bodies, but in the experiences that fill our consciousness. Perhaps the life we feel most deeply, the life that shapes our soul, is the one that truly matters. Arthur lived two lives. The first gave him the memories that made him who he was. The second, his last dream, was a final, profound gift, a chance to live once more, completely and fully, in a world that felt, in every way that counted, like home.